Year so far by National Weather Service offices across the country. That's the highest total at this point in time in the year since the record started being taken back in 1986. In Washington, I'm Michael Yoshida reporting.
I think the big thing that people always
interesting for sure.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. There's still a delay,
yeah,
Tim.
No, I mean, what you were saying is probably the same thing as I was going to say, is just that when you have warmer air, it can hold more moisture, right?
Yeah.
And that's part of the problem.
And I think it's an important thing too. We actually I did a climate IQ today on climate change and hurricanes. You know, we talk about this all the time, is that we're never trying to pinpoint climate change impact on one specific weather event, because that's not how that works. Climate is a pattern over time. But while climate change can't make more hurricanes, or it can't produce a storm from nothing, because of the increase in tropical moisture, it can allow for heavier rainfall events. And I think that's like where the science, gets politicized and kind of dropped off of, like, it's not producing more, it's just what is being produced is heavier, more prolonged, etc. And
that's the scary thing. When we talk about heavier rainfall, you're turning like a downpour into more of a torrential downpour, or a regular thunderstorm into a heavier thunderstorm. That can be, a really bad trend and a suffocating feeling that I believe, I've been in the Carolinas about 15 years now. This is something that we've noticed quite a bit. More frequency of heavy rainfall events, whether they be tropical or otherwise. This is something that might be kind of the way we do it going forward, where you are getting more of these extreme rainfall events. You're probably not going to notice a huge difference between, the average temperature in July was 80 versus 79. But the impact of that is more rain, more water, more flooding. That's not what you want to have. And some of the research would suggest, too, that some of those storms are stalling out more with weaker flow. That's also what you don't really want to have. Before we let you go, this is our area over the last 6 days. Just radar estimates, but anywhere from 5 to 7 inches. This does not include the tropical storm Chantal moisture at all.
Wow.
So parts of Alamance County have had about 15 inches plus just since July 1st. And the average is 3 to 4 inches for a month of rainfall.
I think I did see you tweet that out.
And there's not much you can do about
wild.
it. So people are saying, can you fix the flooding? Not with that kind of rain, you can't. You just can't deal with it. Good luck, because this is just too much water too quickly, and that's what flooding is. So
yeah, we're keeping a close eye on the flooding and the heat the next few days. Join us tomorrow, same time, same place, with Tim and myself for WCNC and WFMY Weather Impact Live.
Well, thanks for joining us. I'm Colin Mayfield inside the Impact News studio here on WCNC Plus. We've got a lot going on over the next 2 hours, so we're going to jump right in. Today, actually, the New England Journal of Medicine published a case study today detailing a groundbreaking approach that deals with pediatric heart transplants here in the United States. And actually, Duke Health has pioneered the world's first technique that could expand the donor pool up to 20%. So this is huge news today. And we have one of the leading people in this area, one of the leading surgeons, I should say, Joseph W. Turek from Duke, who's done so much research, not only on this, but so many other things, not only on pediatrics, but cardiology as a whole. So it's great to have you, Doctor. Thank you so much for your time. Let's just start really general here. What does this mean for transplant patients and really for cardiology as a whole going forward for the future?
Well, one of the biggest problems we have in the heart transplant world is too few donors for these hearts. And this technique is used for specific types of donors. So there's donors who are donating after they've had a cardiac death, and that's for these patients as opposed to those who've had brain death. When they have a cardiac death and their heart is stopped and we want to see if they would be a good donor, we need to be able to restart that heart in some way. And that's really what this innovation does. For the first time, it gives us an opportunity outside the body, bypassing a lot of the ethical issues that we have if we were to restart the heart in the body of the donor. We're able to do this for some of our smallest, really most vulnerable patients who need heart transplants.
What does the wait list currently look like? I know that that's a huge part of this, is making sure that you expand the donor pool, but obviously getting people off that wait list as quickly as possible, especially for those people who are needing just an emergency situation. So what does that look like for folks kind of wondering about the wait list?
It's pretty sobering, and it's especially that way for infants who need heart transplants. Okay. So we have about 700 pediatric patients who end up on the wait list in the United States every year. But those infants in particular, the kids less than a year old who oftentimes have different types of congenital heart disease that need transplants, unfortunately, a third of those patients will die on the wait list waiting for a heart. So this is life-saving, being able to open up this opportunity of more available donor hearts.
Got to talk about some of the work that you guys do behind the scenes on things like this. You're always researching, different techniques, different, objectives to try and help people live longer, right? And live a healthier life. That's really the objective here. I've seen you quoted so many different times on so many different, journals. So for you, how did this research come to its fruition today, and seeing this case study being published? And really, what does it mean for folks who are living and seeing this day to day? What does it mean for them? And it seems like they have, I guess, renewed hope, you could say.
I think so. I mean, this idea was born out of necessity.
Okay.
What we were seeing is we had a lot of patients who needed heart transplants, and we just saw them waiting. And there's some real ethical concerns, like I said, with this certain type of reanimating or reviving or reassessing a heart with life support in the chest of the donor. There's a concern that you're going to be reperfusing the brain of the donor. We don't want to do that, and so this technique allows us to do it, take it outside the body, reassess the heart. And, I think that this will ultimately increase the donor pool by about 20% for pediatric heart patients, which is really quite astounding. And so I think you're exactly right. I mean, this is hope is what this provides. And you can imagine how families are who are waiting for months on end for their little baby to get a heart transplant, how that hope is needed.
I can't imagine. I got 4 myself, and as a parent, you would do anything to try and help your child or children to recover. So I can totally understand this brings, new hope to those individuals. Let's talk about this specific transplant procedure to be offered. Where can folks, if they're in this pool, maybe they're hearing this and seeing this across the nation, maybe they're not in North Carolina, what should folks do? Should they talk to their local doctor? What are the first steps, I guess?
I think this is going to catch on. This was the first one. We did one case recently, and that's what this publication is showing proof of concept that it can work.
Right.
But I can tell you that prior to doing this case, we did our homework and we did our research, and we had done this in the laboratory to make sure that this was going to be successful. So I think this is just the tip of the iceberg. I think that this is going to come, and it's gonna rapidly burst onto the scene and be a potential option for these kids. But it's like everything, you need to have adopters and folks that are willing to take a chance. I mean, I think that's the thing you've got to remember, is that the families, number one, the donor family really wanted to give. They wanted to donate their heart in their time of tragedy, wanted to give. This would not have been possible without this technique. They wouldn't have been able to donate their child's heart at that point. And then on the recipient end, you've got a family who realizes this had never been done before in a baby or in a human, and they wanted to give their child the best chance, but also to kind of forge the way for kids in the future. So it will be coming onto the scene, and hopefully fairly quickly.
Such a unique and astonishing technique to even try to think about from a person who doesn't have any medical background. I can't imagine where technology has come over the last 10 years even. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because innovation, I think, in technology, and especially in the medical field, has really come so far in the last 10 years. Would you be able to do something like this even 10 years ago?
No, and you're exactly right. Everything builds on itself.
Right.
And in this case, this built on the fact that they have technology to do this in adults, but we don't design technologies in general to help out children. And it's because it's a small market. It's not attractive to the bottom line oftentimes for companies who make these devices. And so this had been out there in some ways. This is quite a little bit different, but it had been out there, and the concept's out there in adults. And this is, that success that they've noticed from that has allowed us to realize that we could probably pursue this route for these really small little babies.
Doctor, what else are we missing here? I know this is such a convoluted topic, especially for somebody, like I said, who I've admitted doesn't have much of a medical background, but this is some amazing work. In reading this journal, like I said, it really opens a lot of folks' eyes. And any questions that I missed, or maybe anything that you wanted to answer and tell folks about?
I think the real novelty here is, and the innovation here is, that this is really going to help us be the best stewards we can of these precious gifts. And these are truly precious gifts, these donations. When a family makes the unselfish decision to give their child's organs to another child, I think we have a responsibility to try to honor that and do whatever we can to not only honor their wishes, but help the children on the other end.
Well said. Well said. Dr. Turk, you are the Chief Pediatric Cardiac Surgery individual there at Duke's. We appreciate your time, your expert analysis, I should say, and appreciate you shedding some light on this new revelation that just happened really today from the Journal of Medicine. Yeah. So thanks so much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me.
All right, Doctor. Hopefully we'll see you soon. Thanks again.
Okay. All right. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye. All right. We will go from this now to a couple of stories actually that we're following here on WCNC that you will see at 11. Two of our reporters are working on some pretty big stories as they relate to the big, beautiful bill that was just passed actually last week. So I want to make sure that I get this correct. And we're going to start really just very broad here. Tradisha Woodard is talking about the big, beautiful bill in and of a sense that Medicaid cuts could impact rural hospitals, Tradisha. So I'll start there, talk about, the story that you're working on, and we'll go from there. But first of all, how did you hear about this? And, where do we start, I guess?
It's been all over social media, tight eyes, obviously, before this bill was signed on July 4th. And I spoke with some health officials today, even though it's signed into law, who are still trying to understand some of the verbiage in this bill, and specifically rural hospitals and how it will relate to them, even though it's not set to go into effect until 2028. But really looking at the percentage of patients who utilize Medicaid and looking at the numbers, trying to see if they'll be able to keep their doors open over time.
There's been some concerns that, and we won't go too far into them because I don't want to give your story away, but we've talked about it on WCNC Plus quite a lot about the different impacts that this could have. Obviously, our colleague Siobhan Riley talking about CMS, how certain funds that aren't released or maybe will be released could impact certain programs, but this is affecting people's lives specifically because Medicaid obviously funds certain programs, specifically rural hospitals, right? They get that. So talk about that system. You don't have to go into nuts and bolts specifically, but what does that look like, and what will folks be missing out on if they don't have this type of service?
This is going to impact a lot of people, specifically speaking to Medicaid officials. One of their biggest concerns for one of the rural hospitals I spoke with, specifically the Lancaster area, the Chester County area, is that a lot of folks that can't afford health care now, that gap is only going to continue to widen as we look at inflation, Medicare costs. He said he's concerned, but the biggest concerns, we have lists that are out. A lot of people are trying to foresee what's going to happen, which hospitals are going to close down. For a lot of people, this is their lifeline. This is the only hospital that they have available to go to.
Right.
And now that they will no longer have Medicaid, it's just becoming a scary situation. So one of the health officials basically broke it down this way. He says, specifically, I saw Chester, MUSC, Chester, Lancaster on that list. So I was really excited to hear what he had to say and how they were preparing ahead of time. And he said, because they're so close to Charlotte, we won't be impacted. Those hospitals, those rural hospitals won't be impacted in the area. But he says about 10% of their patients use Medicaid. So in comparison to 40 to 50%, especially in some of these Medicaid expansion states, that's going to be a really huge hard hit for a lot of those hospitals. So right now they're looking ahead at what services they provide, how will they be impacted, and how will they be able to make some of those cuts when the time comes.
Wow, fascinating story, because it seems like there could be a risk, as you said, for closures in certain aspects for this. And, as you said, what type of choices do you have if you live in a place like Chester, right, or you live farther down, right, in southern regions of Chester County? It's not a quick trip to make it to Charlotte, right? So accessibility is going to be an issue for people.
Specifically, also some of those hospitals that don't have a big city that they're right near. So it's like, how do you go about getting health care if you have to drive hours and hours away and you still don't have the money to make that happen? So it's scary. A lot of health officials are trying to, like I said, understand some of the verbiage to better prepare. I know the South Carolina Health Association has been reaching out, also trying to get a better understanding of what the bill means and how people will end up utilizing that verbiage and comparing it to what they have and what they're seeing in their hospitals.
And I think you kind of alluded to this in your story tonight, so I won't necessarily talk too much about this, but folks are really starting to learn the impacts and really won't know or feel these impacts until these issues actually get here, right?
So it's going to break off over the year. Starting in 2028, we're going to kind of see it weave into it. But health officials are like, we need to look at this right now. We need to prepare right now. So they're working ahead of this thing and trying to figure out, get their financial things in order to make sure it's not a big blow and we don't have a massive number of rural hospitals closing their doors because they weren't prepared.
Something a lot of folks are going to want to know. And we know that our viewers have been asking us questions on this federal law. So Tradisha, thank you so much. I won't waste any more of your time, but appreciate you letting us know. A lot of folks are looking forward to this at 11 o'clock. So again, Tradisha Woodard doing some great work on rural hospitals in the area. Tradisha, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
All right. We want to continue moving on. We will hear from Siobhan Riley during the 8 o'clock hour, our other phenomenal evening reporter here at WCNC. We do want to go to this press conference. Earlier today, this happened. The president trying to crack down on illicit fentanyl and making convictions harder, keeping these criminals in jail longer for this type of crime. So we'll go to this now.
The President of the United States.
Well, thank you very much. Please. It's an honor to be with you. We're making a lot of progress in our country, generally too. But this is a very special time because we've worked very hard to put ourselves in this position. Today we strike a righteous blow to the drug dealers, narcotic traffickers, and criminal cartels that we've all been hearing so much about for so many years, and very little has been done. And we take a historic step toward justice for every family touched by the fentanyl scourge as we sign the Halt Fentanyl Act into law. Good job. Good job. Well done. Well done. Thank you very much. With this bill, we are officially and permanently classifying all fentanyl-related substances as Schedule I narcotics, which is actually a very big deal. It doesn't sound like much. It's a big deal, as they will tell you, meaning anyone caught trafficking these illicit poisons will be punished with a mandatory 10-year minimum sentence in prison. We'll be getting the drug dealers, pushers, and peddlers off our street, and we will not rest until we have ended the drug overdose epidemic. And it's been getting a little bit better, but it's horrible. It's horrible. We're going to end it once and for all. And we're pleased to be joined on this occasion by my future DEA administrator. He's going to be a very important position, Terry Cole. Where is Terry Cole? Hello, Terry Cole. I hope you're as good as they say, Terry. I hope you're as good as Glenn Youngkin says, because it was his recommendation that got you this job. You better do it. I'm blaming Glenn. Glenn, I'm going to blame you if he's no good. And who the hell knows, but I have a feeling he's going to be great. Is he that good? All right, good. You better be good. But it was really, Glenn has had tremendous experience with Terry, and he said he's fantastic. He did the job like nobody that you've seen, and we take your word for it. Thank you very much, Glenn. Also with us is Secretary Kristi Noem, who's doing a fantastic job. Where's Kristi? Where are you? Kristi. Hi, Kristi. She is doing a great job with Tom Homan, who's fantastic. He's also central casting. He does serve the central casting role, too, doesn't he? And he's a great guy. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff. Steve, thank you very much. Thank you. Good job. And we have some good news on Gaza and good news on a couple of things that we're working on at a very high level. But you've done a fantastic job. Thank you very much. My nominee to lead the Office of National Drug Control Policy, Sarah Carter. Sarah, great reporter, too. She was a very tough and good reporter, and you've done a fantastic job. So now you'll be able to put all that experience to work. No more criticizing or anything else. You got to do it yourself, and you're going to do a great job, you know, as reporters do on occasion. Thank you very much. Thanks, Sarah. Good luck. Governors Glenn Youngkin, Jeff Landry, and Kelly Armstrong, where are you? Stand up. Great. Hi, fellas. Hi. How are you? And great friends of ours, Senators Chuck Grassley. Chuck, fantastic. You look fantastic. Looks like he's 44 years old. You look great, Chuck. We're proud of you. Jim Banks. Jim. Thank you, Jim. Good job. Good job. Ron Johnson. Ron, good. We've got that bill passed, Ron. We got it passed. Thank you for all your help, too. Ashley Moody. Ashley, thank you very much. Jim Risch. Thank you, Jim. And you're doing a great job on the committees, and you're getting them through, the people that we need, right? I appreciate it, Jim, very much. I urge him, like, Jim, you got to get going. No, Jim's been fantastic. Bill Cassidy. Thank you, Bill, very much. Thank you very much. And Roger Marshall. Roger, thank you. And by the way, I have to say, John Thune called. he said, can you get my senators back? We're taking a vote, so we're going to go as quickly as you can. And if you feel like the urge, just get out. And we got to get all these bills signed, a lot of them related to what we're doing. So don't have the urge to stay. I won't be insulted if you walk out. But he just called. He said, could you get him back as soon as possible? Representatives Morgan Griffin, Brett Guthrie, Andy Biggs, Andy Barr, Buddy Carter, Addison McDowell, Troy Balderson, hi Troy, Randy Feenstra, thank you Randy, Scott Franklin, Tony Gonzalez, John Joyce, Dan Muser, Mike Carey, Scott Fitzgerald, Diana Harshbarger, Bob Latta. That's a good group of people. Hal Rogers, Mike Rowley, and Nick Langworthy. Thank you. We've got a lot of great people. That's a lot of political talent we have. A lot of political talent. Thank you very much. Thanks as well to State Attorneys General Brenna Bird. Thank you, Brenna, wherever you may be, because you know, Brenna, she was the first one in that state to endorse Trump. Thank you very much. I don't forget those things, even though this is non-political today, okay? Alan Wilson, Chris Carr, and Marty Jackley. Thank you all very much. Thank you. So 6 months ago, we came into office and inherited the worst drug crisis in American history by far. They did nothing. For 4 long years, Joe Biden surrendered our borders to the most evil and vicious traffickers, networks, and everything else on the planet Earth, allowing foreign drug cartels to carve out a massive footprint on American soil. We were doing nothing. This open borders nightmare flooded our country with fentanyl and with people that shouldn't be here, some of the worst people on earth. And illicit drugs decimated American communities and left us with the largest law enforcement challenge in our country's history, and hopefully will always be the largest. I can't imagine anything being worse. They allowed millions and millions of criminals into our country, 11,888 murders, 50% of whom murdered more than one person. On day one of the Trump administration, we declared an all-out war on the dealers, smugglers, traffickers, and cartels. Within moments of taking office, I deployed the U.S. military to our border and unleashed the patriots of ICE and Border Patrol to defend our country from an invasion. This was an invasion. This wasn't people coming in. This was an invasion of our country, allowed to happen by people either that didn't care or were just stupid people. Stupid people. I also designated the Mexican drug cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. And within a few short weeks, believe it or not, if you remember, now we've even that, but we achieved the most secure border in U.S. history. And last month, we had the lowest number of illegal border crossings ever recorded. We had in June, the number was actually 0. Now, even I don't believe that, but we're going to take it. How can you go from hundreds of thousands to 0? But that's what they say. And these are very liberal people that do the recording, so I think we're going to have to take it. But the number was 0 in June. Can't get much better than that, right? On day one, I signed executive orders to create new Homeland Security task forces, marshaling the full power of federal law enforcement to eradicate transnational criminal networks and traffickers from our soil. We wanted them out. 2 weeks ago, we secured the resources necessary to achieve that mission when I signed the One Big Beautiful Bill into law. And I want to thank you all. I want to thank you. I want to thank you all. You did a great job, and you could go point after point how good it is. You know, they have just a hit against that. It's one of the great biggest tax cuts in history, biggest, really the biggest everything in history. We have things in terms of security, in terms of securing our country, taking care of our police officers, law enforcement, our ICE and Border Patrol patriots. I call them patriots because that's what they are. These are strong people, tough people that love our country. If they weren't tough, they wouldn't survive. But we do more for the country in that bill, I think, than just about any bill that's been passed. And we're going to have to start speaking about it because the Democrats use it. They say it represents death. How effective is that, right? That's pretty good. It represents that. That's all they have. They only have lies. It's the only thing they have. They don't have policy. They can't get people elected. They don't have good candidates. They don't have anything, but they do have two things. They stick together. They stick together like glue. And they always come up with a good little tagline. This tagline is death. And the death is them. We're the ones that are giving life. We're giving life with that bill. And there's so many good things, whether it's no tax on tips. Think of that. No tax on Social Security. No tax on overtime. If you buy a car, you want to buy a car, you get a deduction of interest on your mortgage. So think of that. Things that were never even a possibility. And then so much else in terms of health, in terms of providing care. It's really just a fantastic bill, and it's about time that we're going to start, and we'll start talking about it. But once we do, I think we're going to have the greatest midterm that you've ever seen, because this thing really is amazing. And I want to thank all of the senators in particular for getting it done, It also makes the largest investment in the U.S. Coast Guard since World War II, ensuring that we have assets and all of the assets needed to vanquish the cartels from the waterways of North America. We're building a lot of Coast Guard ships that go very speedily along the water, and they're very lethal. They're very powerful, and that's what we need, because a lot of it comes in as we block up the border. They start using the water. That's a good run. I could use that. They block up the border. We start using the water. And that's what happens. They start using the water. Who would think? They even actually developed small submarines. You saw that, right? Small submarines to get the drugs in. And it's incredible. But we've stopped them. I've also directed the Department of Justice to seek maximum sentences for fentanyl traffickers. We're going to absolutely do the maximum. Since my inauguration, the DOJ has seized over 4,500 pounds of fentanyl, which is a record, including with the enormous Sinaloa cartel bust in May, one of the toughest cartels out there, the largest fentanyl bust ever in United States history. And now with the signing of the HALT Fentanyl Act, in just a few moments we are delivering another defeat for the savage drug smugglers and criminals and the cartels who have a tremendous amount to say about Mexico. If you want to be nice about it, I'm trying to be nice about it. They have very strong controls over Mexico. We have to do something about that. Can't let that happen. The Mexican authorities are petrified. They're petrified to show up at their office. They're petrified to go to work because the cartels have a tremendous grip on Mexico and the politicians and the people that get elected. For years, the monsters who manufacture illicit fentanyl have sought to skirt legal restrictions by making minor variations of the chemical compound, and in the process, they've developed even more toxic versions of the drug. One common variant, known as carfentanil, it's becoming more and more common. It's 100 times more potent than the original version of fentanyl. Can you imagine? Look at what you have to suffer with the original. I mean, this is damages for what they've done. And I think we're going to work it out so that China is going to end up going from that to giving the death penalty to the people that create this fentanyl and send it into our country, whether it's through other countries or directly. I believe that we would have had that deal a long time ago. I shook hands with them, and then we had a rigged election, and we had somebody else come in, and they didn't know anything about a deal for the death penalty. The death penalty is going to be imposed on people from China that make fentanyl and send it into our country. I believe that's going to happen soon. But as of today, all fentanyl-related substances will be banned forever, and those who traffic in these deadly poisons will be put behind bars for a very long period of time. We're joined today by just a few of the millions of families ravaged by this scourge, including Greg Swan from Michigan, who carries with him the heartbreaking loss of his beautiful son, Drew. Drew became addicted to opioids after being prescribed painkillers following a sports injury, got injured, and this is happening so much, got injured in sports and ends up, you leave the hospital a week later and you're addicted. But he fought through it and got himself clean. Then one day, Drew took a pill laced with fentanyl. He took it just casually, thought it would be okay. Took a chance and he thought it'd be okay, and it didn't work out. And he tragically lost his life. And Greg, I'd like you to come forward, and if you could just say a few words about your wonderful, wonderful son, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Honor of my life.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. President. I will be brief. It's the honor of my life to be here, and Drew was the happiest day of my life was when he was born, and he always called me his hero to the day he died. And his passing ruined, I thought, my life, and every parent back here that I meet and in the audience, some of my friends, their life is gutted when they lose a kid. There's despair and there's hopelessness. But we've been able to find some repose in going out and advocating. And we want to hit every school in America. There's 26,727 of them. We want to go into every one. The kids are silent when they hear we lost somebody to this, and we tell our story, and they leave unequivocally ready to run away from fentanyl. I would just like to say thank you, Mr. President, for stopping the border crossings. Full stop, mic drop. I'll step back but it was amazing what you did. We were being gaslit, and you came and lit a fire to that story, and we're a lot safer for it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you.
That's tough stuff. We're also grateful to be joined by California native Ann Fundner, who lost her beautiful eldest son, Weston, to fentanyl when he was just 15 years old, exactly 1 year ago today. Ann delivered a moving tribute to Weston at the Republican National Convention. People that saw it have not forgotten it. And Ann, I'd like you to please come up and say a few words about your wonderful boy. Thank you. Please.
Thank you, darling.
Thank you so much. It's an honor. Good afternoon, Mr. President and distinguished guests. My name is Ann Fundner.
Oh, come here. I'm going to hold it.
Thank you.
Okay.
And I'm an angel parent. 1 year ago today, on July 16th, I stood in front of America and told the story of my son, Weston, at the RNC. And about how he was a beautiful, loving, had a wonderful life. We did everything right. But one pill, one mistake, given by a friend under peer pressure, took his life. In the last 4 years, fentanyl became the #1 killer of Americans ages 15 to 48. And children under 14 are the fastest growing demographic. President Trump, for 4 years, we felt ignored. But you've changed that, and we appreciate that so much. You've closed the borders, sanctioned cartels, imposed tariffs, closed shipping loopholes. Most people don't know about that. That was a big one. Dealt with countries where it's coming from. You mobilized Treasury, Justice Department, Homeland Security, lawmakers, legislators, And today, the signing of the Halt Fentanyl Act, bipartisan and overwhelmingly supported by everybody, making fentanyl a Schedule I drug to strengthen the criminalization and prosecution of people who peddle this. It is a lifeline for families across America and keeping our families safe. And that's all you always want, to keep America safe. And thank you so much. Thank you for keeping America safe and for our children. And this is what we voted for. Mr. President, God bless you. God bless our angel families who are all here with us today, and all of you sitting up here with us. And God bless America. Thank you so much. You can have that. Would you like that? I would love to give that to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's just crazy that we have to even be doing this. It's so sad, should be so unnecessary that we stand here for years and years doing the same thing over and over. It's terrible. A friend of mine, a longtime friend of mine, is Jackie Siegel, and her beautiful children, her husband David just passed away. David Siegel was a great developer, great developer, great guy, a friend of mine. But her children, Jordan, Jacqueline, and Drew, come from Florida. Jackie lost her beautiful daughter, Victoria, to drugs when Victoria was just 18 years old, a beautiful person. And this April, Jackie lost her sister, Jessica, to fentanyl. In her daughter's honor, Jackie founded Victoria's Voice. And I'd like to ask Jackie to come up and say a few words about her daughter, her husband, her family. She's comes from a great family, and they've been fighting this scourge for a long time. Thank you very much, Jackie.
Mr. President, it's an honor to be here today on behalf of our family, my late husband, and all of the other affected families for this important signing on this bipartisan issue. 10 years ago, when our daughter, 18 years old, passed, Victoria, she was 18, she passed away of a drug overdose. We formed the Victoria's Voice Foundation, and the Trump administration was very helpful in passing the CARA Act, which saved many lives back then, bringing out the Narcan. And we're so honored. Well, actually, when my husband passed away, thank you for the phone call and your love and support. Our family loves you, Mr. President. That day, when my sister found out of my husband's passing, she did a line of cocaine that she thought was cocaine, and it was fentanyl. So I lost both of them in the same day. And it's been a very rough time. But it's turned me into more of a fighter to carry on my husband's legacy and the other family's legacy of saving lives. And so I'm turning my pain into passion. And also, on top of this, with the signing of this important the act that you're doing, we are joining with Victoria's Voice is joining with founding fathers, and we're going to start the Angel Army, so we're even growing even more under this Trump administration. Okay. And we're going to spend the rest of our lives doing this. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Jackie.
Thank you.
Very effective.
Thank you for helping me.
That army will be very effective, knowing Jackie. So thank you very much, Jackie. Everyone knows someone touched by the incredible crisis that we've all been watching all over the world. They're watching it. Other countries have the problem. But I don't think there are too many that have it more seriously than us. They come here and they rip us. They rip us so badly, the cartels and all of the others, because we're sort of a rich country, and that's where the money is. So it happens. People say, why is it so much? Because we have money. We're richer than other countries, so they come here more. They take the money like taking candy from a baby. So today, on behalf of all Americans who have lost a loved one to opioids, we renew our vow to liberate America from this horrible plague, and I hope you're going to do a fantastic job. You have no idea how important you are. You have like maybe the most important job just about in government. There's nothing more important than what you're doing, so I wish you a lot of luck, and we'll be there to help you all the way along, okay? Once again, I want to thank Congress for passing this important bill and for all the work you've done over the last 2 weeks, all of you. What a job you've all done. And it was the congressmen and women and the Senate has been unbelievable. And I'd like to ask, if you want, stand right up here while I sign the bill, and then we're going to get you right back so you can keep passing other bills and make America great again, right? Okay, thank you very much. It's great to have you.
Very protected. You want to make sure it's signed. People behind you.
And this is not an auto pen, right? That's for sure. That's great. Thank you very much.
All right, well, at the moment, Charlotte FC is taking on DC United, and they are trying to get into the playoffs. Many of you know that. They obviously have a huge game against Atlanta United this weekend on Saturday, a game that will be happening in Atlanta, obviously. So tonight is obviously a must-have. The team rocking some new kits, some kits to pay homage to their history and some of the men and women that played for a specific franchise in Charlotte here years ago. We'll talk more about that with Nick probably later on tonight at 11. But the MLS All-Star game is expected to be here in 2026. We don't have a date yet or who the All-Stars will play, but we do know the game will be here in Charlotte. And MLS, the leader, Don Garber, he was here as well. Let's go to this now.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Bank of America Stadium. I'm Taylor Twellman, lead analyst for MLS Season Pass on Apple TV. And it is an honor and a privilege to join you today for a special announcement from Major League Soccer. Joining me on stage are today's distinguished guests, Major League Soccer Commissioner Don Garber, David Tepper, owner and chairman of Tepper Sports and Entertainment, North Carolina Secretary of Commerce Lee Lilly, the mayor of the city of Charlotte, Vi Lyles, and Johnny Harris, co-chair of the Charlotte Sports Foundation Board of Directors. We'd also like to welcome the elected officials, community leaders, and corporate partners who are with us here today. And on a personal note, thank you for joining Major League Soccer. The first time I was in this building, 30-some-odd thousand in the Bank of America Stadium, the Poznan, everybody turns around, starts bumping, the stadium's rocking and rolling, and I look at my phone and probably 20, 30 texts from around the world and WhatsApp messages about Charlotte and what the heck it is. If I blindfolded someone and put you in this stadium, you would have no idea this was Charlotte, North Carolina. That is a tribute to your city and to your fan base. So thank you for joining this gorgeous league. In the 30th year of this league, we are now better to have Charlotte here. At this time, I would like to welcome the man behind the last 25 years of Major League Soccer, MLS Commissioner Don Garber, who will be making a special announcement. Don?
Thank you, Taylor, and it is great to be back here in Charlotte. It's hard to believe we were standing in this room, it was 6 years ago, to welcome your city into our league. And I remember on that day speaking about ambition and speaking about community. And those are two qualities that I believe define Charlotte FC's journey into the league, And I think now those values are even more evident than ever before. And Taylor, I'm going to correct you for, I know you had a game where there were 30+ thousand, but 74,000 people packed this stadium for the inaugural match in '22. From the first game, Charlotte FC fans have come to represent the spirit of the Queen City. Your fans and the community are a symbol of unity for soccer fans across our country. And over the past nearly 4 years, Charlotte has not only become a great host for Major League Soccer games, it's become a world-class soccer destination. And that's what we were talking about when we were talking about bringing MLS to the city. Hosting great Copa America games, hosting the Club World Cup, and having an incredible match just a couple of weeks ago. Charlotte is firmly on the global soccer map. That's why I am so thrilled, and it is so deserving, to announce that another one of our sport's great marquee events is coming to the city of Charlotte and to this region. In July of '26, right after the 2026 World Cup, right after the world's eyes are on the United States, Canada, and Mexico, the eyes of the global game will turn to Charlotte because the 2026 MLS All-Star game is coming to Bank of America Stadium and Charlotte, North Carolina. As you know, our All-Star game will be broadcast around the world in over 100 countries on MLS Season Pass on Apple TV. But it will go beyond just the game itself. Charlotte will host a week-long series of festivities, activities, and celebrations of the sport, including our All-Star Skills Challenge, our Soccer Celebration Fan Festival, and programs that serve and, very importantly, honor the community here in this great city. So, Charlotte FC, you've earned this. It's the result of the vision and the commitment of so many people here in this room and people that are outside this room have been supporting this club. I want to say a heartfelt thank you to David and Nicole Tepper. David, thanks for your support, your belief in the future of our league, and your commitment to this region made all of this possible. We really do appreciate that. Your passion for building something meaningful for the Carolinas has been an inspiration to all of us and all of your partners at Major League Soccer. I want to thank Christy Coleman, the CEO of Tepper Sports and Entertainment, for your leadership and your hard work in bringing the All-Star game and all the related festivities to town. And Johnny, though we just met, you're a legend. We appreciate the support of the Charlotte Sports Foundation for your role in bringing the All-Star game here to town. And of course, a heartfelt thank you to Mayor Lyles, who was instrumental in bringing MLS to the city. Mayor, your steadfast support for this club and for our league is deeply, deeply appreciated. It's great to see you again. To the supporters, to the great fans that packed this stadium, for your incredible loyalty to the club, you've earned this moment. We know you will help make the atmosphere for our 26th All-Star game truly memorable and electric. So get ready, Charlotte. The world is coming, and we can't wait to celebrate with you. So congratulations. Now I'd like to welcome my good friend and a member of our Board of Governors, David Tepper.
Well, it just seemed like a little while we had the head of FIFA here talking about the Club World Cup that we just had in Charlotte with 70,000 fans with Real Madrid. You know, this is a soccer city. Let's make no mistake about that. Before I get started, I just want to thank Commissioner Garber for coming here today and making this great announcement. Secretary Lilly for your support. Mayor Lyles, thank you as always. And King of Charlotte, Johnny Harris, who should have that now title forever. Listen, hosting an MLS game, hosting an All-Star game of any league is a big deal. And to have a week-long celebration leading up to the MLS game will be a great thing for our club and our city, Charlotte, because the eyes of the world, as the Commissioner said, will be particularly on soccer after the World Cup comes to the United States of America. So it's a great sort of launching pad for us here in Charlotte and the game, of soccer in the United States of America. Just as far as Charlotte is concerned and what's happened here, since the inception of the team, soccer fans, by the end of this year, we hope, see how playoffs goes. I'm looking at Zoran over there. We'll have had 3 million fans come into this building. 3 million soccer fans coming into this building between the MLS club and the different international matches we've had. That's a lot of people coming to downtown Charlotte. And listen, it's a great testament to what Charlotte can be and what it is. The history of soccer, by the way, just did start with us. There was a team back here, and I just want to mention they're not in this room, I don't think, but they were just in the room before I was meeting these guys, from the Charlotte Lightning, which was a team here in 1981. 40 years ago, there was a team in Charlotte, and I just want to say we're having a new kit. This will be the crown. This color will be, there's a few other things. We have a whole kit, and you'll see the shirt later on stage here, I think. So just, I wish those guys were in the room. I'd have them, I'd call them out, but they're not here right now. But I just want to thank them for being here just in general. As I was saying, the week All-Star Week is an exciting week. It's an exciting week of what comes in here, an exciting week for what happens in the community, and the week-long event. And as you all know, we, very much into community and things we can do for the community. Since we've had this team, we've fostered, I don't know who did this calculation, but it's here on this piece of paper. They say 20 million minutes of grassroots soccer programming in this city. That's a lot of minutes of soccer programming. And, we have 14 mini pitches in Greater Charlotte that we put up. And we'll try to hit up the league for maybe a couple more before this is all done, so we'll see how that goes. Just in general, listen, we're just so excited to have this MLS game here. MLS All-Star game here, and we're really excited for what that brings next year to Charlotte, and I'm excited for soccer in general. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Garber, and thank you, Dave, especially for your belief in the soccer and, more importantly, in our league. At this time, I'd like to welcome North Carolina Secretary of Commerce Lee Lilly, who is here on behalf of the North Carolina Governor, Josh Stein. Lee?
Thank you, Taylor. Good morning, everyone. I'm Lee Lilly. I'm the Secretary of Commerce here in the state of North Carolina, and I indeed bring greetings to all of you on behalf of Governor Josh Stein. He's out in western North Carolina today supporting our communities out there still affected by Hurricane Helene, and he sends his best wishes to all of you. Congratulations and thank you, David. Thank you, Nicole, for all that you have done, not just for this community, for soccer, for the Panthers, but for the state of North Carolina, all the things that we've been through, including things like Hurricane Helene, where you all have been great supporters of the state, so thank you very much. A few years ago, the state began consideration of legalization of sports betting, and that's since become law, and during that consideration, one of the things that was important for us to think about is how does sports betting actually benefit communities? How do we use the revenue that comes from sports betting to support communities like to grow its economy and to be able to do more for the community? And the idea that the North Carolina General Assembly came up with and ultimately funded was the Major Events, Games, and Attractions Fund, which takes a portion of the revenue that we generate out of sports gaming and it devotes it to allowing the state of North Carolina and the Department of Commerce to support local communities to bring one-of-a-kind events like the MLS All-Star game to places like Charlotte, North Carolina. So we are very pleased to partner with Tepper Sports, with the Charlotte Sports Foundation and the city to support this event with a $2 million grant from the state of North Carolina to support the MLS All-Star game. Because it's events like these one-of-a-kind sporting events that really draw unique attention to the state and to the region and provide so much economic benefit, not just for Charlotte, but for everyone in North Carolina. And it's part of the reason why we're lucky in North Carolina that just last week CNBC named the state of North Carolina the best state to do business in all of the United States. Third time in 4 years. that we're the best state to do business. And it's because we have great business leaders, but it's really about our people. It's about the people that come to work here every day and at businesses all across North Carolina that we're the best state to do business. So we're happy to support this event. We're happy to be a part of it. I want to give great congratulations again to David, and thank you, MLS, for being here. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Lilly. Next, I'd like to welcome a familiar face to many, Charlotte Mayor Lyles, for a few remarks. Mayor?
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I want to welcome Secretary Lilly and the Commissioner to come here today, because when you guys come, things are happening. We're having more and more opportunities for the people in this community, and we're grateful for both of you for providing that opportunity for us. I also want to thank Dave and Nicole, the entire Tepper team, for their continued commitment to Charlotte and the efforts that they've put forward to bring more and more events here. We're very excited to host yet another milestone sporting event. You know, over the past several years, we've become internationally known for sports and entertainment destinations. And so it's fitting that Charlotte welcomes now the most popular sport in the world. And bringing this event to Charlotte is not just something that we say it's going to happen. It's really important for how we grow and continue to be the kind of community that we want to be. Bringing these marquee events to Charlotte is made possible not just for the national and international reputation, but think about what it does for our local economy. Think about what it provides for our ability to be seen internationally. And think about the millions of dollars that our local businesses and the people who are fans will have to enjoy and be here to spend. And like the people that are coming for the 2026 All-Star game, the people of Charlotte have fallen in love with soccer. Thank you for allowing us to have this opportunity for bringing the game. And from Charlotte FC to Independence and Ascent and to all the youth leagues and everything that's going to happen across our city, I want you to know that we understand diversity reflects Charlotte, and soccer really respects diversity. So thank you very much for being here, and I really want to be able to now say thank you to David and Nicole. You guys have been full since COVID for us. You've made differences, you've contributed, you've done things that were really necessary, and I want you to know we all say thank you for that. And everyone, have a great day and have a great time, and especially get ready for all of the soccer that we're going to have. Thank you.
Well said, Mayor Lyles. Finally, I'd like to ask, and it says to say Mr. Johnny Harris, but apparently Dave just told me I got to say King. I got to say King Johnny Harris, co-chair of the Charlotte Sports Foundation Board of Directors, to the podium for some remarks. Go ahead, my man.
Thank you very much. First of all, good morning. Over the years, if you live as long as I have, you have a lot of special days here in Charlotte. And this is another one of those great days where you begin to see something really, really special happening. And that is the fact that soccer has not only found a home because of David and Nicole, but it's got a home because of MLS. And Major League Soccer is now going to recognize Charlotte with their All-Star game. And that's so very important. This is truly an exciting moment in the continued growth of Charlotte as a sports events city. We have a long track record of success and know that the MLS will be thrilled with the support they receive from the people of Charlotte. Sports fans love coming to our city, and the 2026 MLS All-Star game will be no different. With our restaurants, our hotel, hospitality, and walkable uptown, we know that the fans, the players, and the entire MLS community will have a first-class experience. By the way, said another way, you come to Charlotte because of the people of Charlotte, and that has not changed over the years. It's still one of the greatest places to come in the world, and we look forward to having the world come here next summer. I also want to say one other thing. Things happen and you don't realize it. And many of you sitting here today don't understand the sports fund that was created by the legislature through the funds from offsite. And I want you to understand that was a fight. There were a lot of people in this room who had a lot to do with that law becoming something that we now have the benefits from. And an event like this is the perfect example of how the state of North Carolina can partner with local people, particularly ones that are as organized and as strong as Tepper Sports, and attract special events. We're very fortunate to have that. Going forward, there'll be other events that we can host and do. I'm sitting here looking at Krista and Nicole and thinking about maybe a draft, maybe a Super Bowl, maybe whatever. It doesn't, I didn't look back at Dave because I know what he thinks. It's going to all come. So anyway, but I want you to know the Charlotte Sports Foundation is grateful for the opportunity to be part of the team to help host the game. Earning this game is a testament to the strong teamwork between the Charlotte Sports Foundation, Tepper Sports and Entertainment, the state of North Carolina, the city and county government, and the countless other partners who joined with us to make this happen. So please join me today and commit to making next year's MLS All-Star game the best ever. Thank you very much.
All right, so obviously we'll continue to follow this, and hopefully we'll have a date on when the MLS All-Star game will happen here in Charlotte and really who they will play. Sometimes they'll play Liga MX or another franchise from across the pond in Europe potentially. So we'll see. But obviously it's going to be an impact driver for the economy and for everyone here in Charlotte who loves football. We're going to go to the State Department's daily briefing right now with Tammy Bruce, and we'll come back to this when we have more information to share with you.
It feels the same on a Wednesday. It's a Wednesday. Thank you, everyone. The President, of course, was very busy yesterday. I was at an event, and we didn't want to conflict with the President and his terrific event in Pittsburgh, so thank you for your understanding, but here we are today. We will also brief tomorrow as well. Thank you for being here. Of course, I do have a few comments. As we get settled in here, people are shaking hands. That's a very good sign. I prefer hands being shaken as opposed to throats being grabbed. Hi, you guys. Hi. I will note that your colleague Nadia, who is normally here, is not, because she was at the White House asking the president questions. So I'm a little jealous, but it's all right. I will rib her about that tomorrow. I hope she appears tomorrow. So thank you, everyone. This week, the United States is delivering results that uphold our values, protect our interests, and reinforce American leadership on the global stage. Over the weekend, in solidarity with the Cuban people on the anniversary of the July 11th, 2021 protests, Secretary Rubio designated regime figurehead Miguel Diaz-Canel.
All right, we're going to tear ourselves away from this, and we can always go back to this in just a couple of minutes, but we do have another one of our evening reporters who is sitting in here in the Inside the Impact News studio, taking some time from her report to give us more about what we can expect tonight at 11. So Siobhan Riley is here. And again, this story deals with the big, beautiful bill in a different way, though. We're talking about funding impacting education, and specifically CMS, Siobhan. So talk about the issues that CMS is talking to you about and really what this funding can do for students within CMS.
Yes, it is possible that CMS could lose $12 million in funding, wow. And that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And tonight I'm talking to Vice Chair of CMS, Dee Griffin. He's also the school board member, and he's just talking about the impact that this could have on students and the teachers. And he's basically saying they're just trying to find ways to prepare just in case the district does lose this funding. Okay. Now, I'm sure this funding goes to a lot of different things, but specifics, I was just kind of looking at your interview. It seems like a lot of programs, whether they be in the classroom or outside of the classroom. We've talked about this in terms of violence prevention as well, right? Having kids being involved in something, whether it's after school programs, that type of situation. I don't want to focus on that situation, but really the funding
can provide certain avenues for these kids to be able to, to learn better, to do different things, to be able to exercise some of that activity during the school. So what things could be at risk if they don't get this funding?
Well, you mentioned violence programs. We're talking about after-school programs, possibly summer programs. And you think about during the summer, we've done so many reports on violence. And when kids don't have anywhere to go, they revert to the streets. So this could really impact a lot of people. Kids could lose that funding. Even when it comes to reading programs, when it comes to math programs, they could take the risk of losing that funding. This could also mean the possibility of cutting budgets, and that means teachers, some of their funding could be cut. So this impacts everyone, not just the students, it impacts the teachers, it impacts every school district in the country, and especially right here in North Carolina.
Okay. I wanted to ask Tradisha this, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, but was there one thing from, your interview today or your story that kind of grabbed you, that really you wanted to let folks know or really talk about in this story? Can we talk about that?
Yeah, well, D. Rankin, I know a D. Griffin, so I always have to think about the names, but D. Rankin says this is unlawful.
Okay.
That really kind of caught my attention because he's saying that this is not fair. He definitely did not mince words today when he was talking. He said he feels it's intentional. He says it's unfortunate. And he just says they need answers. But at the end, he says, we're not going to give up the fight.
Yeah.
And I just thought his passion to making sure that students in CMS and across the state get what they need, despite the obstacles that they are up against, really speaks volumes. And
we're seeing the state sue the federal government over money that they're withholding on education. And it kind of ties into this. We don't necessarily need to dig into that. But I do want to ask you, in terms of these funds were already approved by Congress. So that's why he's calling this unlawful, right?
Yeah, he's calling it unlawful because these funds were supposed to be released on July 1st. And now they're going back and saying, you might not get this funding.
Okay.
So that's why a lot of people are so upset, because they told me they were preparing for this funding.
Okay.
And now we're about to go into another school year, and they don't really know what's next.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to ask that, right? What is next? And if they, and maybe you can't answer this, so please tell me if you can't, but if they don't get this funding, would they have to ask the state for it? Or I guess what would happen then? Do you know?
I did ask them what's next if they don't get the funding, and they didn't get that far. They just said that they were talking to their school district leaders, really just to work on preparing for next steps. But their hope is that they won't have to do any layoffs or face any major cuts. But let's just be realistic. We're talking about $12 million. So.
Right. It's a lot.
Yes.
And obviously, as we said, the state is already in a fight with the federal government to get their money for the educational purposes as well. So everybody seems to be in limbo with no real questions, and everybody kind of just bracing to see what happens. So, Siobhan, thank you so much for speaking to CMS leaders and getting this story. And again, you'll see this tonight at 11. Siobhan Riley making sure that we have all the information that we need. Thanks so much, Siobhan.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you. Great to have you. All right, so again, see those reports tonight at 11 from both Tradisha and Siobhan, all on the Big Beautiful Bill discussion about what could be cut, whether it's related to Medicaid funding in those rural hospitals or to CMS missing out on $12 million, which is a huge hole for them to have to fill. We'll go back to Tammy Bruce at the State Department right now.
Builds on existing visa restrictions targeting Cuban judicial and prison officials involved in the unjust detention and torture of protesters. In addition, we are cutting off financial lifelines to the regime by updating the Cuba restricted list and Cuba prohibited accommodations list to include 11 regime-linked hotels. This week, also, President Trump, joined by Secretary Rubio, met with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte in the Oval Office. The president reiterated his desire to end the bloodshed in Ukraine and expressed disappointment in Vladimir Putin's continued refusal to do so. As part of this effort, President Trump announced the United States will sell advanced U.S. weapons to NATO allies who may choose to send them to other countries. 2 months after President Trump traveled to the Middle East, countries are still coming to us to build off the momentum that his trip generated. Bahrain's Crown Prince is visiting Washington today, as many of you would have noticed, where he announced Bahrain's intention to invest over $17 billion, that's with a B, in the United States. The deal constitutes a major U.S. commercial win that could support up to 30,000 American jobs. Regarding the situation in Syria, we heard the Secretary state during today's meeting in the Oval Office, quote, "It's complicated. Obviously, these are historic long-term rivalries between different groups in the southwest of Syria, Bedouins, the Druze community, and it led to an unfortunate situation and a misunderstanding, it looks like, between the Israeli side and the Syrian side. So we've been engaged with them all morning long and all night long and with both sides, and we think we're on our way towards a real de-escalation and then hopefully get back on track in helping Syria build a country and having a situation there in the Middle East that is far more stable. So in the next few hours, we hope to see some real progress to end what you've been seeing over the last few hours." Turning to our transatlantic partnerships, Secretary Rubio met yesterday with Italian Foreign Minister Antonio Tajani to coordinate next steps on the Israeli-Iran ceasefire, reaffirm our joint resolve on Ukraine, and address shared challenges posed by China and developments in Latin America. In the Western Hemisphere, Deputy Secretary Christopher Landau met Monday with Haitian Prime Minister Phil Amé to discuss the urgent need to restore security, stability, and constitutional order in Haiti. He underscored continued U.S. support for the multinational security support mission. Looking to the Indo-Pacific, President Trump has announced the composition of the presidential delegation that is traveling to the World Expo in Osaka, Japan on U.S. National Day, which is tomorrow, Thursday, July 19th, 2025. The delegation is led by Secretary of the Treasury Scott Bessent and includes Deputy Secretary of State Christopher Landau, a busy man. Since the expo opened on April 13th, nearly 1 million guests have visited the USA Pavilion, and we expect over 2 million visitors over the duration of the expo. The USA Pavilion serves a unique convening place for American companies to connect with potential customers and drive American prosperity. This event, along with our recent engagements with the Quad and ASEAN, reaffirms that U.S. leadership in the Indo-Pacific is enduring, strategic, and producing real results. So that is my opening here on this Wednesday. I will now happily, most of the time, take your questions. Daphne.
Thank you. Just to follow up on what the Secretary said earlier on Syria,
yes.
What is it that the U.S. is hoping to see in the next few hours?
Well, certainly an end to the conflict, an end to the nature of the violence that is happening, an Israeli withdrawal, a Syrian government withdrawal from the area as well.
And has the U.S. asked Israel to halt strikes on Syria?
I cannot speak to specific conversations or the exchanges diplomatically, but I can say that, let me see, there's a few things that might give us a sense here of what's happening. We are calling on the Syrian government to, in fact, withdraw their military in order to enable all sides to de-escalate and find a path forward. And I think that that's obviously the goal because of the nature of what's happened and the Secretary's phrasing that this was a misunderstanding. He's optimistic that this can be achieved.
So you said you're looking for an Israeli withdrawal and a Syrian government withdrawal from the area. Can you be more explicit about where
I can't. I can't. Right. All right. Yes, Jillian.
Given what you just laid out, seems like it's safe to say that there is daylight between the President and Secretary Rubio and the Israelis?
Well, I wouldn't say that at all, no. But very good try. No, I think that there's, I think it's very specific what we've been asking. We've been obviously speaking with all the parties involved. We are involved and we know the parties involved. And the President and the Secretary have noted that they expect de-escalation as soon as possible, that this was classically a misunderstanding between Israel and Syria, and long-term tribal issues also in the area. But our best are on it, and that includes, of course, the leaders of the country.
Can you comment on the food aid that is set to expire, the 500 billion tons or whatever it is that is set to expire that was slated to head to help stave off, I guess, starvation in Afghanistan and Pakistan?
What I can say without the particular specifics is that we have a kind of a standard procedure that if food is expired, it will be destroyed. Let's get more information on that. I know that there was a conversation about the nature of food and whether or not if it is expired, and if that's the kind, we know we take action with that when it comes to the procedure. So we'll get an answer back for you on that. All right. Yes, sir.
Yes, hi. Thanks, Tammy. Back on Syria, could you give us a sense of whom the Secretary has reached out to, both on the Syrian side and on the Israeli side?
No. Sorry, just a quick answer. No.
All right. And second, could you give us some clarity as to what he meant exactly by a misunderstanding between Israel and Syria? I mean, I know he said it was complicated, so
yes, it's complicated.
A short answer, but
well, yes.
What did he mean by
I won't characterize his statement or remarks. I would expect more comments to come from the President, perhaps, and certainly the Secretary. They are, again, have been, as we have in general, involved in de-escalating this, which is the key. But within his experience, he felt that that word was appropriate. Yes. All right. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
That's where Nadia should be sitting, though. I believe you better tell her. What's your name, sir?
Joseph.
Joseph, hi there. Welcome aboard.
Thank you. I wanted to ask on Gaza if you have any updates to provide on ceasefire talks or progress on that.
Yes, we do. There's still negotiations. I'm not going to get into the details of what those are. And of course, last week you'll recall that Secretary Rubio said that we are hopeful. He says, I mean, in the end, we're hoping they'll move to proximity talks. So obviously it's a negotiating process that is underway and ongoing. He said it appears that generally the terms have been agreed to, but obviously now you need to have talks about how to implement those terms. He noted, I should say now President Trump has noted, that we want to have a ceasefire. He's noted that many times. We have to have peace. We want to get the hostages back, and warned Hamas that it will only get worse if they don't agree to this arrangement. Right.
And then on Lebanon, Ambassador Barak was recently there and receiving a response to proposals or roadmaps for that country to disarm Hezbollah and implement certain reforms. Can you talk about any of the, what you want to call them, demands or asks that he made of the Lebanese government, specifically as it pertains to Hezbollah's weapons? Was there a timeline given? Has he warned that U.S. support could be withdrawn or reduced if the Lebanese government doesn't make any progress?
Well, as you'll learn, if we'll see you hopefully on occasion here, is that I won't speak about the nature of the specifics of what happens in a negotiation, what is asked for, what those conversations are. We do know, of course, that the ambassador, and as of course our special envoy also, has been very open about the fact that, and this was last week, that he was happy with the nature of the conversations and the commitment to disarm Hezbollah. I can also note on the same sort of issue when it comes to money that supports Hezbollah. The Ambassador Barak stated that stopping the flow of Hezbollah's finances, including through Al-Qard al-Hassan, is a USA priority. We welcome Lebanon's recent efforts in that regard as well, as a step in the right direction, but more needs to be done. The Lebanese government must abandon the pretense that Al-Qard al-Hassan is an NGO under Lebanese law rather than what it is, which is a financial institution used by Hezbollah to subvert international sanctions regimes and undermine Lebanon's formal economy. So I can have that for you. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Tell me, there's a Qatari delegation.
We'll take your question, but then I'll come right. Go ahead, sir.
Okay.
I know you're like really close to each other. All right, go ahead.
There's a Qatari delegation visiting the White House tomorrow, and is the Secretary going to be holding separate talks with members of the delegation And also, what role do you think the Qataris can play in helping secure a ceasefire?
Well, I won't discuss what the Secretary's plans are at this point or who he'll be meeting with. We do know, of course, Qatar has been helpful in the past as a partner, but I won't go into the details of what we can expect in that regard. All right? And now, yes, sir.
The administration has done a lot of work with the new government in Syria to try and nurture relations, to try and embed stability there, lifting sanctions and delisting HTS and things like that. How did these Israeli strikes, which seem to amount to very sharp escalation, extremely dramatic and devastating pictures, particularly from Damascus, of the impact of the bombings, how does that affect your attempts to build that relationship with the new Syrian government?
Well, of course, we know, and we've made a tremendous commitment there to stabilize Syria, and our special envoy, Ambassador Barak, is leading that. And of course, we know of that escalation. Clearly, we've been involved in addressing it. And I think that what is clear still comes from the Secretary's remarks regarding the issue of it being a miscommunication, essentially, and I think that's significantly different than an escalation. But I would wait for us to hear from the Secretary and the President as today unfolds. But neither of them had indicated that this seemed to be a dynamic that indicated something that could not be resolved. Their comments certainly indicated that they expected it to be and hoped it to be, and indicated even, again, for within the next few hours could be facilitated. Also about that, though, we do understand that the Israeli forces intervened to protect the Druze. So that is something we can confirm to you. But obviously, I think the comments of the Secretary speak for themselves. One more. Yes.
Just on one other issue is the ambassador, Mike Huckabee, the ambassador to Israel, appeared in the court hearing for Prime Minister Netanyahu's corruption trial today. I'm just trying to understand what part of the U.S. national interest is served by doing that.
Well, we obviously support Israel. They are an ally and a partner. I won't characterize, as I don't anyone, their position or the actions they might take, but it would appear that the ambassador was exhibiting his support for Netanyahu.
But against the judicial system, I mean, is this an expression of distrust?
Well, I don't. I know that our inclination sometimes is to look into like the broader issues that we're all working on. But I would not suggest that someone attending to support someone facing a situation as some kind of a larger commentary about a judicial system or a country or anything beyond showing support for someone that they know or a friend. Yes, sir.
Thank you so much. On the Syria, the Secretary obviously said that he had been in discussions all morning and night. Were you given advance warning that Israel was going to strike Damascus?
Not that I'm aware of. I think that the reaction of the President and Secretary of State indicate that we're reacting as we should when it comes to seeing something that was unexpected and could be resolved. And then their comments today indicated that that was the response and what they expect to have happen, which they've obviously conveyed to the parties involved.
And then just quickly, back to Ambassador Huckabee. Yesterday he issued quite a stern tweet calling the killing of a young American a terrorist act. Is that a reflection of a broader State Department viewpoint that the killing of Saif Musab
Well,
was a terrorist
again,
act?
and welcome back, by the way. It says thank you. I'm, again, not going to characterize anyone's comments. I think that we've been clear. I can, of course, expand a little bit on our position in this regard. One thing, of course, we do repeat, and it's important, as the Secretary has also repeated, is that Ambassador Huckabee has asked Israeli authorities to aggressively investigate this case, and we refer you to the government of Israel for additional details related to that investigation. As we because of the nature of the world these days, I say very often that we have no higher priority than the safety and security of U.S. citizens. It's a reminder to everyone watching at home the role of the State Department and why we work as hard as we do. We can confirm the death of a U.S. citizen, Safale Masolet, in the West Bank on July 11th. We offer condolences to the family on their loss and are providing consular assistance to them. We are greatly concerned when any U.S. citizen is harmed overseas, wherever that may be. The United States calls for accountability in all cases where U.S. citizens are harmed abroad. All right. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Tammy. Secretary Rubio has taken a lot of ownership of, if not pride, in the reorganization of the State Department, which, as you well know, resulted in the layoffs of over 1,300 employees last week. Do you know, does the Secretary plan to address the workforce directly about this?
What I can tell you is that without forecasting his actions or any remarks, is that the Secretary, as you all know, is very vocal and likes people and engages with them as often as he can. He cares very much about this department and to the point where, look, he undertook something that others had talked about or wished could be done, but just didn't. It was important enough for him so that the people who are here could have a work experience and the result of the products they produce and the passion they have for the work, that it could actually be efficient, that it could get things done within an amount of time that makes it relevant. So it's his phrase is the at the speed of relevancy. So I would, he speaks to many of us a lot, all the time, and I would expect, of course, that to be the case. He's been busy, as we all know, but he's certainly engaged in this regard and is up to date constantly on the nature of where things stand.
But just respectfully, I mean, it's the department he oversees,
Sure.
right?
Of course he
drove
will.
a lot of
Of
this
course.
process, and I think that we've reported and
Well, I think that don't move too far ahead of the fact that I'm not going to state when or how or whether he will. What I've said is that he speaks to us all the time. He loves the department, obviously. This is his home. And I think that on this issue and many others, the people who run this department, who make this department relevant and possible, all of us, whether we be political people or career people or foreign service officers, will hear from him, of course.
Can I ask on Russia as well? Or you mentioned the arrangement that the president laid out on Monday that the U.S. sell advanced weapons to NATO members who can then pass them on to Ukraine. How many, if any, members of NATO have committed to that arrangement so
Well,
far?
I didn't say exactly that. What we said was that this would involve NATO, and of course they would have the ability to then move them to other countries. So I think that's a specific difference. And I will not discuss certainly whatever we may or may not have negotiated or diplomatic discussions, and certainly far from being able to discuss what NATO leadership may be talking about.
Okay, one last question just on the 50-day timeline now for Russia. Have you gotten any indication from your Russian counterparts that there's an interest in a diplomatic solution?
I would say that referring back to President Trump's remarks probably gives us the most immediate sense of whether or not he views things as being positive or if he's happy with what Vladimir Putin has been doing. And of course, we've heard from him that he's not happy, is how I'll characterize it, that he's not impressed with the nature of how things have moved forward. And that's what we rely on. We hear, because he's a transparent man, the nature of his attitude about conversations and his assessment as the leader of the free world, of the entire world effectively, that he's not happy. And I think his current actions of taking a path in order to provide Ukraine with more defensive weapons is an indication of that. But I've said before that while he is a diplomat and is forever optimistic about diplomacy, he's also a realist. And the world has seen, as Iran has seen, and now with these new actions by the president, that Russia is seeing, that he's a patient man, but not at the expense of his vision and making that happen. All right, yes.
Tammy, following up on the American killed in the West Bank, are there any circumstances in which the U.S. would open its own independent investigation into his murder?
Well, first of all, we again know that Israel is investigating. We've urged them to do an investigation aggressively and to finalize that investigation so that we all know what has occurred. I'm not going to speculate on what may or may not happen once that investigation is complete, but we need to wait and let them do that and find out what they ascertain.
On the reorg, there's been some criticism that these cuts and these changes actually run counter to the administration's priorities of making America safer, stronger, more prosperous. What do you say to those?
Obviously, that's wrong. That's wrong. We've done these things because it's not just having the vision, but knowing how we need to have that vision implemented. I've said from the very start, and I understand why it comes back. This idea that an existing structure that's large is the only thing that will work, or it's large because it does work. The opposite was true. It became large and began to lose its way and became ineffectual, bureaucratically. It's such a largesse there that things really couldn't get done. Not the fault of the people who were in those seats, but the structure itself. So you can look at a giant building that can't get anything done because of the bureaucracy and the number of offices and the duplications, and it was not working. To cut something down, to have fewer people, to have fewer offices is not necessarily, and certainly in this case at all, true. That means that certain things are going to stop, or certain things aren't going to be functioning as well. Fact of the matter is, they will function better. That we will be able to serve the American people, get our mission done, implement our vision, because it's functional. So let's not mistake size and bulk for the appropriate methodology. You've got a nimble, effective organization that is what we need in order to get things done. Because of the 21st century, you learn about things now. If something happens as we did, let's say with Syria, something happens in Syria right this minute, in 2 to 5 minutes, all of you are going to hear about it on some platform or through some wire service, many of which you will be working for, and it'll be your colleagues. But we will hear about something in the other hemisphere within minutes of it happening. And then we don't have weeks or months to determine what our reaction will be. We also need to have a space where we can act at, when he says the speed of relevancy, the Secretary is talking about acting in a world where news and information and reality comes to us almost immediately, and we need to act accordingly. So, those who say that this is going to harm the agenda of keeping America safe and strong, that isn't just now. That's the agenda of the American people. We've always wanted that. The American government, by becoming too big, has abandoned us in some fashion in that regard, and we've seen the suffering of the American people throughout generations. This makes it better, makes us safer, makes us stronger, and we will see that because it is fast. You will see that being implemented.
Syria.
Yes, sir, in the back, right there.
Thank you so much, Tommy. Two questions, one on Iraq and the other one on Syria. So recently, the drone attacks has increased on the Kurdistan region, particularly on the U.S. firms, the oil fields operated by the U.S. firms, including an attack that happened today, which the U.S. firms have announced a suspension of oil production. I was wondering what's the U.S. comment and reaction to these attacks, and the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad said that this is not acceptable. What do you mean by this is not acceptable? Are you going to take any actions against those groups who attack these oil fields?
Well, we have been vocal regarding actions that have happened with Iraq and the Kurdistan region. We've made it clear that we expect Iraq to withdraw certain dynamics that they apply to the Kurds when it comes to issues of salaries and oil distribution, et cetera. And of course, these kinds of attacks in the Kurdistan region of Iraq are unacceptable. We've expressed our and our problem with them, and that's what I can report to you at this point.
All right.
Second
One
question.
more.
Yeah, one more. On Syria, you said that you confirmed that Israel intervened to protect the rights of Jews in Syria.
Well, I said they were to protect the Druze. I did not say the rights of, but yes, that's what we understand is what Israel was doing, yes.
So I'm going to ask a question
all
about
right.
the U.S. view on that. So do you think the absence of the comprehensive political solution in Syria, one that safeguards the rights of minority groups like Kurds and Druze, has impacted the situation like that? We've heard Ambassador Barak said that the U.S. does not support federalism in Syria. So how should the minority groups like Kurds and Druze feel safe to integrate within a government which they go and insult their dignity?
Well, obviously, this has been very fast-moving. It's been made very clear there through our support with Ambassador Barak what our intentions are. We've understood that the results have to be, you can put your hand down, sir, thank you, that the results have to be described. People there in Syria have to see results, especially regarding the infrastructure. At the same time, this is a new fluid dynamic. And this is where I think when we talk about misunderstandings, how the communication between friends, new neighbors, partners, we have to be able to act quickly if there is a misunderstanding, if certain situations occur. And this is what is very impressive here about what I've been watching over the hours while this unfolded, is the immediate involvement of the President himself, of the Secretary of State, in public, discussing it, having statements be out, making it clear to as much as they can what their commitment is to this situation, to de-escalate. What is the position of the United States? That's what when we talk about being at the speed of relevancy. That is what can matter in this situation in a region that has been in a very tough spot for a very long time. The President has discussed this. So I think that the Syrians, the people there, the Israelis, the Syrian government, the region, know now that people are home here, that the United States is engaged, that we are involved in a committed way, that President Trump cares about each aspect. And certainly, of course, we've heard from the Special Envoy Barak, in addition to the nation's leadership. That in and of itself we think is important, in addition to the results that will come with the diplomacy that we've exhibited over certainly the beginning of this term. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Madam Bruce. My name is Ahmad Shado. I'm a journalist from Azerbaijan, and I have two questions.
Nice to meet you, sir.
Thank you, sir. First question. Last week, Syria's transitional president, Ahmad al-Sharon, visited Azerbaijan and met with President Ilham Aliyev, and they signed new agreements on post-war reconstruction process in Syria, energy cooperation, including potential natural gas from Azerbaijan to Syria. And this visit came shortly after the U.S. Decided to temporarily ease several sanctions on Syria to allow humanitarian aid and reconstruction efforts. But some Iranian media outlets sharply criticized this visit of Ahmad al-Sharan to Baku and warning that the cooperation between Azerbaijan and Syria threatens Iran's regional influence. How does the U.S. State Department assess the growing cooperation in Azerbaijan and Syria? What does Washington have? Does Washington have concern about how this might affect regional dynamics in Middle East?
All right. Well, there's many things I heard there, and I would like us to take that back, but I will say a few things to what you've remarked on. But let's make sure that we kind of are able to address a lot. As you've noted, of course, part of our commitment to Syria is waiving the sanctions so that we can get investment, so that we can get things built, so that, speaking specifically about infrastructure when it comes to gas, when it comes to energy and electricity, et cetera, that is at the very least that a new government should be able to provide its people. There's an interest clearly in the stability of Syria throughout that region, for the United States, for the world, right? So that we know that there's a multitude of interests. Obviously, we want the region to be involved, and the details of which I won't discuss when it comes to the nature of what the Secretary might be involved in and each piece of that. But we do know that it's important that we, as we've acted very quickly to change the dynamic that was under Assad with Syria, so that the Syrian people, all of them, from all tribes, all regions, are able to enjoy life again after a period where they haven't been able to. Yes, go ahead.
Can I
to ask on GHF, at least 20 Palestinians were killed today at an aid distribution site run by GHF in what the US-backed group said was a crowd surge instigated by armed agitators. Does the State Department have any comments on this, and would you expect any sort of investigation into this incident?
Yes, I do have a remark for you. I know you don't look like I might. You're looking a little. Don't be forlorn. No, we do. What I will say also, while I'm here in this space, is that we are now at 76 million meals to date have been distributed to the region. So I think that's important to address. So this is regarding the 20 killed, as you have noted. GHF itself has issued a statement, which I will provide for you here. We have credible reason to believe that elements within the crowd, armed and affiliated with Hamas, deliberately fomented the unrest. GHF has also reported a troubling pattern of unknown actors circulating false messages about GHF aid site openings, which contributes to incidents like the deaths on July 16th. GHF is committed, obviously being transparent, is to be commended for that, about this incident, which also resulted in the injury of an American GHF employee, and we refer you to GHF for more information. All right, yes. Did you have a question, Matt Lee?
Wait.
Okay.
You just read a GHF statement.
Yes, I did.
What's the State
Yes, I
Department's
did.
view?
Well, you know, I read statements from a number of places and situations that are involved in the dynamic of what it is that's being asked about. For more information, I then refer you also. I refer you to groups. I've referred you to GHF multiple times. So if it's a group that's involved in something that's made a statement, it's worth hearing.
Right.
How you handle that statement is up to you. I did not say how you should report on that or what you would ask next.
Does that mean that the State Department doesn't really have anything to say?
It means that I've read a statement, Matt Lee, I've read a statement about a group that was being asked about, and they made a statement, and I shared it with everyone here. Jillian, did you have something? No? All right, and we'll go right here.
Thanks, Tammy. Two
Yes, sir.
questions for you. Number one on Syria. As Tom mentioned earlier, it's an immense amount of political capital that's been involved in propping up al-Sharaa and giving the government legitimacy.
I would move you off the phrase propped up. This is an active group of people. We are active, serious people trying to make this situation work. Propping up, I would just wave you off that phrase.
Duly noted.
I think supporting and being vocal about that and helping, sure.
One of the commitments given in return was the protection of the minority communities there. This is now the second massacre of minorities, first the Alawites, now the Druze. What is the message being sent to the Syrian government that's in terms of their own commitments?
Well, this is essentially alluded to before when we discussed this, is that part of the problem in the beginning of something like this that has been dealing with a whole host of horrible situations for generations, a new situation, a situation that's fluid, also in a region that has been in constant trouble with constant tribal issues, long-standing tribal issues, where there is a chance to change an environment. And the reaction to the things that will occur, we never expect in any dynamic, including this situation or other dynamics that we're dealing with in the Middle East or elsewhere, where because we have an idea or something new is being implemented or that we're present and that we're working on something, it doesn't mean it's going to be a utopia immediately. You have to recognize that these are things that might occur, be prepared to address them if and when they do, and after the fact, find out, yes, what occurred, what needs to change. I know, of course, that it's not just about stopping an event or dealing with things in a static manner, but each dynamic moves us along in finding out what the challenges are and how to fix that. And that is clearly going to be the case here with this situation.
With the death of the American, Real quick.
One more.
Very quickly, with the death of the American in Judea and Samaria, President Trump and Secretary Rubio were discussing it with the media earlier today. The president looked at the secretary. He mentioned something about a meeting about it tomorrow. The White House press office is looking into it for me. They didn't quite understand either. Is there a meeting going on tomorrow
Well,
about that
my
situation?
goodness, I love the faith you have in me. No, if
I have
this is,
tremendous faith
I
in
do,
you.
I love it. Which is a very exciting time to be doing this kind of job, and also when it comes to a president like President Trump, and our discussions about the speed with which things happen. All the time. This is one of those cases. Decisions are made in the moment with the President of the United States. I wasn't there. I'm with the State Department. So obviously I would say the White House will have answers for you. We'll be able to answer your questions. And I certainly won't speculate on what that means. But what I can tell you is when the President and others in the White House say something's going to happen, it does. All right, yes, in the back, we've had, some people have not had a chance. Let's go to but with the glasses, let's keep going here.
Thank you. After the ceasefire between India and Pakistan, India is now releasing threatening statements and has blocked water supply to millions of Pakistani by suspending Indus Water Treaty. Pakistan says it considered it as an act of war, as more than 240 million Pakistanis rely on the supply of this water for agriculture and basic needs. So what are your comments on this?
Well, yes, that's specifically, I have nothing for you regarding that particular dynamic, but let's see what we can find, and we will get it back to him. We'll have one more with someone who has not already had a bite at the apple in the glasses, sir, at the end of the row. Yes. Terrific.
Do you expect Israel to inform the US before carrying out bombing raids in the region?
Well, I can't speak to any arrangements we have regarding certainly what the DOD might be addressing or dealing with, or diplomatic arrangements we've made or agreements we have with another country regarding or not regarding military engagement. So that's not something I can answer for you.
One quick follow-up relating to British relations. The State Department revoked the visa of British rapper Bob Dylan after he
I'm sorry, with that, say the name again, sir, I'm sorry.
Bob Dylan.
Yes, of course.
After he chanted death to the IDF at Glastonbury. An Irish rap group called Kneecap is facing terror charges in the UK for shouting up Hamas, up Hezbollah during a concert while draped in a Hamas flag. The group has a US tour planned for this summer. Will the State Department also consider revoking their visas?
Well, again, I won't speculate on a decision that's going to be made by our consular services here and the rules that are involved, regardless of what you may think we would do. But I'm not going to project or get ahead of my skis when it comes to speculating on what might occur. All right, and you've had your hand up all day. You will be our last question. I'm sorry, everyone, but I'll be back tomorrow. It'll be fun to do one day right after the next. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I just want to follow up on Syria. You said that Israeli forces intervened to protect the Druze community. But today, an Israeli strike actually struck near the presidential palace in Syria's capital, Damascus, and Israel also targeted Syrian military headquarters in the city. Does the U.S. consider the Syrian presidential palace and the military headquarters as a legitimate military target for Israel? And do you believe that the Syrian government, whose leader, by the way, has met with the President Trump and praised by him, poses a threat to Israel?
Well, obviously, those are not going to be. There's a lot of speculation there. I'm not going to comment on whether or not Israel and how they make their decisions about what it is they feel the need to do. We understand, again, that they intervened to protect the Druze. The steps of what that meant to them, I can't speak to. You could, of course, ask the Israeli government. But we are involved, clearly, in the framework of stopping this and de-escalating. And we will, no doubt, have more answers as the days go on. And that will be it. That will be it.
Specific steps. Can you tell us what those steps are?
That's it for today. Thank you, everyone. All right. I'll see you tomorrow, the regular Thursday.
All right, we do want to get to the story that our Jesse Pierre has been following really since the beginning of this story. And today actually marks 2 years since Alicia Watts was last seen alive. On July 16th, 2023, Watts and James Dunmore, that was her boyfriend at the time, they were supposed to go see a comedy show at Bojangles Coliseum, but never showed up. And now we know months later, her remains were found, Dunmore charged in her murder. And we actually were able to speak to Alicia Watts' father today. So we'll go to this as he was able to speak to us. We appreciate that, obviously, to have his time earlier today.
And you wonder, has it really been 2 years? But it's still very fresh. And one of the reasons it's very fresh is because it's something that, you don't just think about it once a week or bi-weekly or bi-monthly. It's something you think about every day. But when you get to this time of the year, you're thinking about it multiple times in a day and in the night.
Can you bring me back to the time of learning of her missing, and what were the hardest moments during that time frame?
It was just challenging not knowing because we're so programmed to know. You want to know everything. You want answers. And then there's the spiritual aspect of this. We prayed, we fasted, we sought the Lord, we did all we could to help the authorities. And there was such an extended period of quiet, no news, no nothing. I did everything that I physically could do. I prayed. I asked the Lord. I did, and it's something you never get over. It still stirs my emotions to this day because you feel hopeless and helpless because you want to do something and you have nothing to do because you don't know where to go, where she was, and that I think that time frame is it's life changing because you never forget it, and it's the what ifs, and you try to rewind time and you can't because it's already happened, and so it's just something that you have to live with, and it's not easy, but it's possible by the help and strength of the Lord.
And what went through your mind when you found out James Dunmore, the man she was seeing, was arrested for her murder?
There is a small sense of relief because you don't want anyone who has committed such an egregious crime of this nature to get off or to go free. But then there's anger because we don't have answers as to why. And even as this drags on, it's still anger because it's what's taken so long, and there's a little bit of anxiety to it because you don't want time to work against you, and he get off on a lesser charge, or he's not prosecuted to the full extent of the law. So it brings up a plethora of emotions. But I'm grateful that he's in custody and that he has remained in custody. I do understand and I fully support that in this country you're innocent until proven guilty, and we are waiting patiently to have Alicia's day in court.
I'm not going to ask this if you felt like justice was moving at a pace that it should,
Yeah, that's when you're on the victim side of it, I don't think justice ever moves as swiftly as you want it to move, and at the end of the day, I'm bracing myself, trying to brace the members and family and loved ones of Alicia, because even if and when justice comes, it still doesn't bring Alicia back, and you get some sort of closure that this part of it will be done, but it'll never close the hole that Alicia's death has left in our lives and our hearts, and so.
This case had so many twists and turns, from him being found, unresponsive in her car, and, her remains being found and so forth, and then during the court and so forth, or different records found that her cause of death was still listed as undetermined. And then during the different court hearings and so forth, the judge ruled that the state violated Dunmore's constitutional rights, but they didn't dismiss the case. So a lot of ups and downs and different stuff, and I don't know how many of the hearings you've attended and so forth, but how has that impacted you and the family and so forth, just.
Yes, so I've attended a couple of the hearings, and naturally it wears on you because you go to some of them and then they're continued, and you're making provision to go there because you don't want anything to happen without you being on the watch. There's an allegiance and a loyalty to keep Alicia's memory alive, and so we always want someone there in attendance. But as you alluded to, the ups and downs of this case, it stretches your emotions to places that you never imagined, and you have to, it takes a tremendous measure of self-control. It takes the Lord to help you, because you want to have outbursts in court. You want to jump over the barriers. You want to execute justice yourself. You fear that a technicality is going to railroad this case against him, and he's going to walk free. And it's very unsettling, I guess, is a good way to put it. I'm cautiously hopeful and optimistic in the justice system. I wish I could say I was fully confident in the justice, but I'm cautiously optimistic that justice is going to prevail. I'm fully confident that the Lord is going to do what we need him to do. All of our hope and trust is in the Lord.
All right, we will continue to follow all of the latest developments that we've had over the last hour or two. But don't forget, we will have WCNC Charlotte news at 11. And, of course, we'll go over everything related to the forecast as we head in to the weekend in the second half of the week. Our team will have that for you. We'll see you at 11.